They came from the Velari Dominion, a thousand-world empire that called itself the Law of the Stars. Their fleets moved like storms of silver, their soldiers clad in armor that shone brighter than suns. They believed themselves chosen by the void to rule all who crawled beneath its light. When they came to the human colony of Venera Prime, they did not come to negotiate. They came with decrees, with weapons, and with a message written in arrogance. Kneel, Terrans. Submit your world, your ships, and your technology. The Dominion demands tribute and chains. The transmission echoed through the colony's airwaves as orbit burned crimson. Venera Prime, a peaceful colony of 20,000 souls built on red deserts and hope, had no military fleet, only freighters and miners. The Velari didn't care. They bombarded the orbital docks first, vaporizing the emergency transports. They fired on fleeing civilians, calling it compliance enforcement. And when the planetary governor pleaded for mercy, offering surrender, the Dominion's admiral, a creature of long silver tendrils and golden eyes, merely laughed. Humanity should learn its place, he hissed through the comms. The Dominion does not negotiate with primitives. In 3 hours, Venera Prime was ash, its people reduced to dust. The last transmission from the surface was a child's voice asking if the sky would stop burning. The Velari recorded the annihilation, then broadcast it across the galactic networks, a warning to others, a symbol of their power. They believed no response would come. The laughter of tyrants. The Dominion's court was alive with celebration. In their golden hall aboard the flagship Sovereign's Wrath, admirals and nobles drank luminescent wines and watched the footage of Venera Prime's destruction play on floating hollow screens. The Velari Emperor himself, tall, elegant, and cruel, raised a glass to the assembled elites. And thus humanity learns obedience. Their colonies are frail, their courage an illusion. They are a child species pretending to stand among gods. Laughter rippled through the chamber. The courtiers nodded, adorned in silks made from worlds they'd conquered, wearing jewels mined from planets whose names they'd long forgotten. Reports came in from the edges of their empire. Neighboring civilizations were offering tribute, fearful of the same fate. Trade routes shifted. The Velari's dominance expanded. And humanity. Humanity was silent. No retaliation, no declaration, not even outrage. Their embassies closed. Their ships vanished from Dominion space. To the Velari, that silence was proof of victory. "They've accepted their chains," said the Emperor with a satisfied smile. "How predictable." But beyond the Dominion's borders, in the dark between the stars, humanity was not silent. It was listening. It was remembering. It was preparing. The stillness before the storm. 6 months after the fall of Venera Prime, Dominion scouts began to notice something strange. Human space, once alive with trade and communication, had gone dark. No transmissions, no traffic, no signals. Entire systems appeared empty. One scout ship ventured too close to Sol, humanity's home system. It never returned. Another followed. It too vanished. The Dominion's intelligence directorate dismissed it as technical failure, but unease began to grow. Patrols at the border reported strange sensor echoes, massive gravitational shadows, too organized to be natural. The Velari called them ghosts, anomalies, tricks of human cowardice. Then, one night, the stars went dark above the Velari border world of Haleth Prime. At first, they thought it was an eclipse. Then their orbital stations began to lose contact, one after another, like candles snuffed out in a storm. What the Velari saw next would be remembered in nightmares for centuries. The breaking of silence. From the void, hundreds of ships emerged. Not scouts, not freighters, warships black and silent, their hulls reflecting no light. At their center floated something colossal. The UNS Retribution, a dreadnought so vast it cast shadows across the planet below. Its name glowed in stark white against the abyss. The Velari fleet scrambled to intercept. They sent hail after hail, demanding identification, demanding explanation, demanding obedience. They received only one message in return. This is Admiral Sarah Vance of the Terran Defense Command. You murdered our colony. You demanded chains. You'll wear them now in defeat. Then the human fleet opened fire. The bombardment was surgical, methodical, merciless. Planetary defense grids shattered in seconds. Velari ships vanished into expanding clouds of plasma. The dreadnought's main cannon, a weapon powered by the compressed heart of a dying star, fired once, tearing Haleth Prime's capital continent in half. Within 6 minutes, an entire world was silent. Across the Dominion, panic spread. The March of Retribution. Humanity did not announce war. Humanity became war. In every sector touched by the Dominion, human fleets appeared, emerging from warp without warning, striking like lightning. Every colony that had joined in the destruction of Venera Prime burned. They didn't destroy indiscriminately. Humanity had learned precision from centuries of restraint. They targeted military outposts, shipyards, and command worlds. They gave no speeches, no declarations, only consequences. The Velari called it the Black Rain. Because the first sign of human arrival was always the same, a rain of black drones descending from orbit, their wings silent, their descent inevitable. They marked the cities. They painted the ground with targeting lights like falling stars. And then came the fire. Entire fleets of Velari ships, once arrogant and untouchable, were shattered in minutes. Their admirals found their communications jammed, their codes broken, their secrets already known. Humanity had been watching them for years, studying their language, their tactics, their psychology. Where the Dominion fought for glory, humanity fought for justice. Cold, calculated, final. For every colony burned, whispered Admiral Vance, we will erase a world of theirs. The fall of the Golden Empire. The Velari Emperor, once worshipped as divine, found himself fleeing from system to system, his once proud fleets reduced to fragments. His court turned on itself, generals blaming admirals, admirals blaming spies, all of them whispering one word with terror: humans. Their myths had never prepared them for such vengeance. Human dreadnoughts moved like gods of war. Their weapons folded space, tore ships apart molecule by molecule. The Dominion's capital, Velhara Prime, a jewel world of crystal towers and golden oceans, became humanity's final message. The human fleet did not bombard it immediately. Instead, they surrounded it, thousands of ships forming a silent wall in orbit. For 3 days, they broadcast a single message across the system. Lay down your arms, surrender your emperor, acknowledge your crimes. The Velari refused. On the 4th day, the Retribution descended through the atmosphere. It didn't fire, it landed. And from its vast bay emerged the human ground forces, armored soldiers in matte black suits, silent as the night. The Velari armies, countless in number, fired everything they had: plasma bolts, railguns, atmospheric detonators. None of it mattered. Humanity had come with technology far beyond what they'd ever shown before. Their armor refracted energy. Their weapons whispered death at light speed. In the streets of Velhara Prime, the empire that once demanded chains met the fury of a species that refused them. When the human flag was raised above the imperial citadel, the emperor was dragged before Admiral Vance. His golden robes were scorched, his crown shattered. He sneered even in defeat. "You think this changes anything? You think your vengeance makes you gods?" Vance looked down at him, her voice steady and cold. "No, it makes us human." The emperor's chains, forged from the alloy of his own palace gates, were clasped around his wrists. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Velari knelt. The silence of aftermath. When the fires faded, the galaxy watched. Entire civilizations, long afraid of the Dominion, sent transmissions of awe and horror. Humanity did not occupy the conquered worlds. They dismantled the Dominion's weapons, freed the enslaved species, and left their own warning carved into the ruins of the capital. "We are patient, we are peaceful, but never mistake that for weakness. We remember, we avenge." Then, as suddenly as they had come, the human fleets vanished back into the void. The stars returned to normal, trade resumed, but something fundamental had changed. The word human no longer meant frail or naive. It meant unstoppable, unyielding, inevitable. Across the galaxy, whispers spread, quiet, fearful, reverent. Never provoke Earth again. Because they had seen what followed when humanity's patience ended. They had seen vengeance wrapped in steel, moving like gods through the dark. The Velari Empire had demanded chains, and found themselves bound by their own arrogance, their empire broken, their pride crushed beneath the boots of those they once called lesser. And somewhere, deep in human space, Admiral Vance stood before the memorial of Venera Prime, the colony that had burned, the spark that had lit the inferno. She whispered to the names etched in the stone. "It's done, they'll never touch us again." Above her, the stars burned quietly. But those who had seen the wrath of Earth swore that, sometimes, when the night was silent enough, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. Epilogue: The Weight of Vengeance. Years later, a Dominion historian, one of the few survivors allowed to write, would describe that time as the breaking of empires. He wrote, "We thought humanity's silence was surrender. We thought their peace was weakness. But we learned too late that peace is the breath before the roar." And when they roared, the heavens themselves bowed. The Velari Empire demanded chains. And in the end, they wore them.